Okay, hi, good evening, everybody. So thank you for coming over and listening to us share about our passion project. So here is our data science solution we like to call Check App. And really, Check App was born from the reality of healthcare here in the Philippines. So here, it's almost as if your spending power can dictate the quality of healthcare that you can receive. So healthcare in the Philippines is highly fragmented. If, for example, you're a pregnant woman, you have the money for a private hospital, you get a private delivery room, your own set of doctors and nurses. But if you can't afford it, you would have to go to a birth center or a fabella. And there you would even be lucky enough if you could get a bed or even anesthesia. So we want to sort of address this big gap in healthcare. But that's not to say that there haven't been any efforts in the past to address this issue.
The latest of these efforts comes in the form of a universal healthcare law. So in 2019, Republic Act number 11223, or the Universal Healthcare Act, was signed into law with the aim of providing equitable access to quality and affordable healthcare and protection from financial risk for Filipinos. Now, while in principle, the Universal Healthcare Act can push for major improvements on the health and well being of Filipinos, its implementation is rife with challenges. So last year, PhilHealth, the key implementer, sought the delay of the implementation of the law, citing low collection of contributions as a major hindrance for its enforcement. PhilHealth is also currently in deep water with the involvement of its officials in a 15 peso billion fund scandal. Now, occurrences such as this can hamper the provision of affordable and quality healthcare services for all Filipinos. This begs the question, given the status quo, what else can be done to broaden Filipinos' access to healthcare? To provide a concrete and practical solution to this question, our team looked further and analyzed the current outpatient flow of primary healthcare delivery in the country. As you can see in this diagram, accessing healthcare services can be costly, both in terms of time and money. A lot of referrals and redundant steps can easily balloon the out of pocket expenses of a patient who must pay an average of 500 pesos per visit. This excludes possible laboratory and diagnostic fees. Our proposed solution is CheckUp, a project that aims to broaden access to healthcare but by optimizing the system and eliminating redundant steps in the process. CheckUp connects patients directly to the specialist they most likely need based on their symptoms. This translates to less doctor visits and referrals, which means less consultation fee expenses for the patient. And alternatively, this can result in significantly more time and money saved for both patients and doctors.
So while we had this grand design in our heads already for Check Up, for this specific project, of course, we had to consider the limitations of this exercise. So time frame and resources, we took that into account. And so we tightened our scope into these three elements. So the first would be we had to limit the medical specialties. So instead of taking the whole universe of medical specialties, we're taking into account only three. So that's ENT, Ophtha, and Neuro. The reason being that we actually have an ENT specialist in our team, and as well as ENT, Ophtha, and Neuro have a lot of intersections since they deal mostly with the upper part of the anatomy. So we were thinking that if you're able to achieve high accuracy when it comes to delineating between these three specialties, it can hint at the possible accuracy for checkup in the future. Secondly, we do want to include as well a recommender engine for Check App wherein we would recommend doctors to the users based on their location. And of course, the locations that we'll cover is limited by the directory that we were able to acquire, as well as, of course, privacy considerations wherein we're using aliases for the doctors. And last, we want Check App currently runs only on English. So developing the app, we took a 5-step process towards this, and we'll take you through each of these steps in detail.
So first, we gathered a master list of diseases from WHO retrieving 1,108 results across ENT, Neuro, and Ophtha. Next, these were used to scrape their respective symptoms using Beautiful Soup and Selenium from sources like PubMed, Mayo Clinic, and others. To verify, we consulted medical experts under these specialties. After processing and cleaning these data while not perfectly balanced, this allowed us to use these for the modeling later on. Lastly, data cleaning and pre-processing were done using a combination of SPACY, SciSPACY, and GenSim to output the following set of features per condition, resulting to this project's metadata.
Data exploration showed that the correlated n-grams are faithful to their corresponding specialty. For the modeling, we used several text classification models from scikit-learn. We did tenfold cross-validation and hyperparameter tuning. Shown are the metrics as mean values. We can see that the 4 text classification models had good performances. Based on the relatively better metrics, simplicity and interpretability of the model, we selected logistic regression as our final model. Here, we can see the classification report. Important to note is that F1 and accuracy scores for all classes are 94 to 95%.
For the deployment of our project, we decided to use Facebook's Messenger as the host of our checkup chatbot because of one primary reason: accessibility. With over 74 million active Filipino users, anyone can access and use checkup wherever, whenever. To implement this, we used Python as the primary language for the data and backend part of our chatbot, supported by Flask and ngrok to temporarily host the webhook URL required by Facebook's developer API service. The current user experience flow is shown, but I think it's better if we have a demo instead. You can use our checkup chatbot by visiting our page, greet our chatbot hello to start, click consult my condition, and send what you're experiencing right now. Then confirm your response before our chatbot can process it. Once processed, it will return you what specialist to consult to based on your response earlier. You can click recommend to me, then just reply your location. Once confirmed, our checkup chatbot will suggest you the specialist you need in your area. Simple, right? That's Checkup, our friendly chatbot.
Checkup can also be a flexible application that can be integrated to your clinical decision support system. First, Checkup can serve as an open source platform to help government health institutions or nonprofit organizations make their processes more efficient. Second, Checkup can be integrated into the system of private and public hospitals to direct their patients to their in-house specialists. Lastly, Checkup can be utilized by medical insurance providers to reduce some of their costs, including doctors' consultation fees.
This is sort of like the first step that we're taking into developing Check App as a possible solution for Filipinos, right? So the next steps that we're seeing down the line would be, first, of course, would be to increase the number of specializations. So Checkup runs on 3, but we can easily expand this. And a good way to sort of take the next step forward would be to reference this against the top diseases in the Philippines, so that we can have added relevance for the specialties that we'll be including. Number 2, the data that Checkup is based on is mostly scraped from the internet. So it's an overview of the diseases, of the symptoms. We feel like adding more patient complaints, actual patient complaints, would help us enrich the model so that the model can sort of learn the unique ways on how Filipinos describe their symptoms or describe the things that they're feeling in their body. Third, the directory of specialists can be easily expanded, of course, so that whenever people use Checkup, they can get a doctor recommendation wherever they are in the country. Fourth, since Checkup currently runs on English only, we were thinking of integrating a powerful translation package here, for example, Google Cloud Translate, so that people can actually interact with Checkup in their own native tongue. And the last 2 would be the 5th is we can also consider using an NLP model that can understand contextual relationships between words. Now, an example of this would be birth. And why do we want this? It's because as well, when people describe their symptoms, it would be interesting to see if by learning the contextual relationship between the words, maybe the model can understand the symptoms better, as well as being able to have this vocabulary of synonyms so that it can understand what people are saying. And lastly, we see also a potential for CheckUp to sort of streamline the paperwork flow for medical practitioners. So built inside the app itself, we could actually create a interview process wherein the output would be a patient file record that we can easily transmit to our partner, clinics, and health institutions. So that's it. This has been CheckUp, our data science solution to broaden healthcare for Filipinos. First step, but we're very excited to see where this journey will take us. Thank you for listening, and we're opening the floor for questions.